Hi, everyone, and thanks for taking the time to watch this presentation of the Lake Street Rehabilitation Project in downtown Reno. Lake Street in downtown is a gateway corridor that provides access between the west side with large casino hotels and the east side with large apartment buildings, Greater Nevada Field, and numerous restaurants and bars that attract all kinds of pedestrians and a flurry of activity. Unfortunately, the existing street doesn't provide for all that activity, which includes numerous pedestrians, bicyclists, and bus riders, as the downtown bus depot is also on Lake Street through the project limits. What we're proposing is the use of a complete street design perspective to provide for all users. Complete streets are really an approach to design that incorporates a use of the right of way for all users, whether they're multimodal users on scooters, on bicycles, or pedestrians, people in buses, and people in cars. So really, it's about balancing the use and providing a safe, clean corridor that encourages use by all road users. To complete this process, we brought together a really strong team. That's myself, Devin Curtright, Andy Luo, Mark Bryson, Jennifer Arioles, and Leo Spence. And together we've spent countless hours evaluating the design alternatives that we're going to present to you today. Additionally, we evaluated some needed improvements to the corridor, which include a stormwater design that'll capture stormwater runoff before it directly enters and pollutes the Truckee River. That includes green technologies like impervious sidewalks and planter boxes that'll reduce the runoff flow. We've also prepared two bridge design alternatives for your evaluation. Both will have a service life greatly exceeding the existing bridge, which is structurally deficient. So without further ado, let's get into the presentation.
The planned bridge replacement and complete streets project will be constructed in the greater Reno-Sparks area west of the I-80, I-580 system-to-system interchange. The bridge replacement and complete streets project will span a section of Lake Street between State Street from the south and 4th Street on the north side. The project area is located adjacent to downtown Reno and is surrounded by living spaces, in particular Reno Suites, commercial businesses such as the Automobile Museum, Club Calneva, and the Renaissance, and Greater Nevada Field. The site is walking distance from the main Regional Transportation Commission's bus depot and is a main entrance to a walking bike path and experiences heavier than normal foot traffic.
Based on our analysis, we've decided to go with the second alternative since it contains the same functional purpose as the first alternative. Furthermore, it has wider sidewalks for a pedestrian to safely travel along the streets. It provides more landscaping and green areas for a better aesthetic street view that will attract more pedestrians to walk on the sidewalks. And it has a narrower travel lane for cars, which helps control the speed of vehicles traveling in the area. The sustainability triangle and alternative scores. The second alternative, pedestrian focus, has a narrower through travel lane that limits vehicle to go over a certain speed, which slows down the travel speed in this area to provide safe sidewalks for pedestrians to walk and safer bike lanes. And this will give a score on the people equity of a score of 90 since it allows people to travel in a safer environment. This alternative was designed with more green areas such as landscaping and aesthetic by sidewalks, which gives a score of 80 on the planet environment. Lastly, the prices are higher than the first one since there is a landscaping that's been added, and that's the main difference in the price between the first one and the second one. It has a score of about like 40 on the price. In conclusion, we have concluded that based on the sustainability index, the second alternative has a better score of 170 compared to the first one, 140.
In order to accurately define the watershed area for the runoff calculations and total volume capacity that we would need for the detention basin, we first needed to calculate the stations for the low and high points for the project. As you can see in the graphic, we calculated the low point station to be at 8+00 and the high point station to be at 20+66. These calculations make sense based on the PVC and PVT of both stations, considering the relatively small slopes that are present for Lake Street between State Street and 4th Street. Based on the calculations from the curve max elevation, we were able to get a low point elevation of 4,492.5 feet and a high point elevation of 4,494.7 feet. As instructed, we used a rational method to calculate the total runoff that would be witnessed for a 100-year, 10-minute storm in that area. For the complete streets alternative we chose, we used a runoff coefficient of 0.925 for a concrete road, a coefficient of 0.075 for our planter boxes, and a coefficient of 0.75 for our sidewalks consisting of permeable concrete. Our right-of-way had a total area of 2.33 acres. Our sidewalks had a total area of 0.87 acres, and the planter boxes accounted for an area of 0.14 acres. In total, we calculate a total area of 3.34 acres, giving us a Q value of 1.56 cubic feet per second. Because of the unpredictable weather patterns in our area, we decided to use a safety factor of 1.5, giving us a grand total volume of 1,402 cubic feet.
So for our store water management plan, we created a detention basin to be located in the vacant lot north of the river and east to Lake Street. We concluded that a 20 by 20 foot basin would suffice in that area, and we determined it to be 3.5 feet deep in order to accommodate the runoff coefficient of the storm. Then using the infiltration rate of 1.63 of the well-drained gravelly sand, we were able to obtain the detention time of 25.77 hours. For our green infrastructure technologies, we decided to include planter boxes and permeable sidewalks. The planter boxes help collect the stormwater and promote vegetative growth, and the permeable sidewalks are also a great implementation as they are able to absorb and infiltrate water. For our sidewalks, we decided to use lattice permeable sidewalks, which includes 60% concrete and 40% permeable sands. The planter boxes and permeable sidewalks both create an opportunity for vegetative growth, and it also adds to the aesthetic of the street.
These here shown above are our two different alternatives for our bridge that goes over Truckee River. On the left is our single span concrete girder bridge. This design includes a riverbed excavation as well. And on the right, as shown, is the 2-span steel girder bridge. And this design includes a pier in the middle of the river. And this is the itemized cost breakdowns for each bridge. The first bridge is a little over $2.9 million in costs, and the second bridge is a little over $1.3 million. For the first bridge, the main cost is the riverbed excavation, which alone costs about $2 million. The second bridge has its main cost in the structural steel and the additional concrete required for the bridge, but it comes nowhere close to the cost of the first bridge. And shown here is the construction scheduling for each of the bridges, with the first bridge on top and the second bridge on the bottom. The first bridge would take about 17 weeks to construct, and the second bridge would take about 18. The main difference here is that the first bridge requires a river excavation, and the second bridge requires an additional week for the pier to be constructed. Besides that, there's no real differences in the schedule.
In closing, we'd just like to thank you for watching the presentation of the Complete Streets project on Lake Street. We've selected alternative 2 again because it provides the greatest balance between all user needs and provides the greatest degree of safety for all users. We've presented 2 different bridge options that will also be available for you to select from. We encourage any questions if you have any as they come up during your evaluation of those alternatives. And we also hope that you appreciate the consideration that we've given towards the green infrastructure that we propose to utilize during the construction of this project. In closing, thank you. Have a good evening.
That was 10 minutes.
Was it really?
Yeah.